Former presidents Bill Clinton, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, George W. Bush all united to call out Donald Trump and his despicable regime on July 4th. And they were showing that even if they have different political views, especially the Democrats and George W. Bush, how presidents are supposed to act. And especially former President Bill Clinton was not holding back, and he unleashed on Donald Trump. I mean, you had Donald Trump making posts like, has anyone ever seen a happy Democrat? Just stuff like that. That's so unbecoming, would be the biggest understatement ever. But then you had former President Bill Clinton issue a statement bashing Donald Trump's America 250 fraud, the utter failure that was the America 250 grift. Here's what Bill Clinton wrote. And Bill Clinton really hasn't put out that many statements lately, and it's just notable too, because what was it? Yesterday, Donald Trump, or 2 days ago when he was doing that interview with Usha, he's like, I like Bill Clinton. I still like Bill Clinton. Okay. Here's the statement by former President Bill Clinton. Statement from President Bill Clinton on America 250 and the state of the country. 250 years ago in Philadelphia, our founders embarked on a radical experiment and declared a new nation rooted in the ideal of equality with an elected government charged to advance life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Since then, our government of, by, and for the people have become the longest lasting, continuous democracy in the history of the world. Our road from 1776 to today has been, in Abraham Lincoln's word, piled high with difficulty at every turn. There have been forces of reaction seeking to claw back the extension of our rights and liberties to more people. But by and large, thanks to celebrated leaders and everyday Americans alike, we have stumbled in the right direction, widening the circle of opportunity, deepening the meaning of freedom, and strengthening the bonds of our community. Today, we celebrate this milestone amid another period of deep division, renewed questions about America's future and the role in the world, and serious threats to our own institutions and to our democracy itself. The people in charge have unleashed masked agents on American communities to seize people from their homes, workplaces, and the street. They have started an unconstitutional war on a whim with no clear objectives or exit strategy and zero regard with the consequences to the lives of millions of people around the world. With the help of lifetime appointees to the Supreme Court and a compliant Congress, they have weaponized government to settle personal scores, prosecute enemies, stamp out free speech, and made the federal government a new profit center for themselves and their allies. Their New Deal is socialism, and for the super rich and their own enrichment, even if it means increasing poverty, inequality, and illness at home and around the world. Socialism for the super rich. That's who gets the socialism. That's, by the way, that's like my line. Socialism for the super rich is what the Trump regime is doing. They also want to rewrite history to ignore and outright deny our past flaws while banning books that say otherwise from our libraries. And they select even our military leaders based on their vision of political correctness over ability. But this isn't the first time we've come close to the edge. Throughout our history, we've thought about what it means to make our union more perfect and who belongs. So far, at every major turning point, we have chosen inclusion over division. In the early days of the Republic, by building a national economic and legal system. During the Civil War, by preserving the Union and ending slavery. In the early 20th century, as we move from an agricultural to an industrial society, by making our government stronger to preserve competition, promote basic safeguards for labor, and provide the poor, the elderly, and the infirm in the 60s and 70s, by advancing civil rights and women's rights and protecting our natural resources from plunder, and at the dawn of the new millennium, by moving into the global information age in a way that distributed the benefits of our interdependence to more people. Our founders were wise when they gave us our mission to form a more perfect union. They knew America would never be perfect, but could always be better. That's what they meant by more perfect. We've done that by being courageous enough to acknowledge our flaws and missteps, and then bold enough to leave them behind for brighter tomorrows. That's the lesson of our first 250 years. We can always do better in how we treat one another in person and online, in building better futures for ourselves, our families, and our communities, and in standing up, showing up, and speaking out for our democracy. There is still nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what's right with America. We see it in the people lining up to vote, no matter how hard some may try to prevent them. We see it in those bringing groceries to their neighbors, donating to charities in record numbers, and serving their country and communities in countless ways. And we see it in the immigrants eager to bring their talents, hard work, and dreams to our country. So today, celebrate that miracle, the miracle that has brought us this far. I know I will, because I love my country so much. Then tomorrow, wake up and ask yourself what part you will play to keep making our union more perfect by keeping our country in the future business. We owe that much to those who struggled and sacrificed to bring us this far, and to our children and grandchildren who soon will inherit that future. Powerful words by former President Bill Clinton. And it reminds me of what former President Joe Biden said yesterday, as Donald Trump was saying, "Democrats, I hate NATO," all the stupid stuff. Joe Biden said the following: 250 years ago, a group of Americans signed their names to a piece of parchment and made a promise no nation had ever made before, that we're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We're the only nation in history built not on ethnicity or blood or geography, but on an idea that's always been what makes us exceptional. We chose that path 250 years ago, but that's where the work began, not where it ended. Every generation has had to choose it again. At Valley Forge, at Gettysburg, at the beaches of Normandy, in the streets of Selma, Americans recommitted themselves to the principles on which our nation was founded. Now it's our turn. There's nothing guaranteed about our democracy. We have to fight for it, defend it, and earn it over and over, year after year. That's not a burden. That's what it means to be an American. 250 years in, we still haven't fully lived up to those words in the Declaration, but we've never walked away from them. And this July 4th, I hope all of us can commit to one thing, that we never will. I don't believe we're as divided as we're told we are. I've bet my whole life on the American people, and I'm not stopping now. Happy 250th, America. Our story isn't finished. Let's keep writing it together. Former President Obama posted, "America is a constant work in progress. Every generation must take up the unfinished work of the last and carry it further. Protecting what's right, fixing what's wrong, and making our union a little more perfect." 250 years later, that is more important than ever. We also saw former President Obama, Biden, Clinton, and George W. Bush all sit down for interviews with the Today Show, and they all spoke very powerfully. Here's what former President Obama had to say. Let's play this clip.
What message do you have to Americans?
Remember what's best in us. The basic principle upon which this country was founded, which is we don't have rulers, we don't have kings or monarchs or aristocracies, we have citizens. And if we hold true to that idea, that we the people have been gifted this chance of self-government, if we pay attention to our responsibilities and our duties, and if we extend respect and thoughtfulness to our fellow citizens, even if we disagree with them, if we understand that part of this democratic project is to sort through our differences in peaceful, legal ways, then I'm confident that we're going to have another 250-year run that's going to be just as good.
And as the Trump regime continues to attack Pope Leo XIV, let me share with you what Pope Leo XIV said, not because this is a religious YouTube channel. No, whether you are religious, not religious, whatever your religion is, atheist, what we care about on this YouTube channel, on this network, is you being a good person, a person that lifts people up, a person that cares about humanity, that cares about your neighbor, that treats people with respect, that you put out dignity into the world, that you try to strive to be a better person, that mistakes will be made, that we're not perfect, and that when we make mistakes, we hold accountability for it, we take responsibility for it, and we try to become better people. That's what Pope Leo XIV is saying here. And here he talks about the rights enshrined by the nation's founders. Let's play it.
Land of the free and home of the brave. First right enshrined by the nation's founders was the right to life. For no one who is deprived of life can enjoy liberty or pursue happiness. A country's vitality is deeply tied to the value it affords to human life in every form and condition, acknowledging the dignity endowed upon every human person by virtue of their very existence. The inherent worth of every human life has led the noble hearts of generations to praise the marvelous works of the Creator and stand in reverence before so precious a gift. Indeed, it is precisely this reverence that we must continue to cultivate, one that sways the hearts of individuals and inspires laws that recognize and safeguard the gifts from the moment of conception to natural death. Reverence, too, will aid us in discovering that we are guardians and stewards of those entrusted to our care. In this regard, the moral greatness of a nation is manifested, above all, in its capacity to support, protect, and cherish the lives of all, especially the most vulnerable and those whose worth is questioned.
And here's what he says as well: as the country opened its doors to immigrants, because the United States is a nation of immigrants, and Pope Leo XIV is an American pope. He knows the story of America, especially being from Chicago. Let's play this clip of Pope Leo XIV.
In these past 250 years, for so many peoples throughout the world, it was the firm resolve to achieve the noble vision of the nation's founders that made America a byword for freedom. As the country opened its doors to successive waves of immigrants, enabling them and their children to play their part in shaping the future of the nation. It was this same love of freedom that inspired the United States in the darkest hours of the last century, at the time of the 2 world wars, to look beyond itself and at great sacrifice to champion the cause of freedom beyond its own borders.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Powerful words from former President Clinton, Biden, Obama, Pope Leo XIV, not by Trump. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.